Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where we will go beyond the ordinary and embrace the extraordinary. Be part of down-to-earth, no BS conversations where we will explore hot topics on love and money, relationships and business, beauty, and who we get to be with all that shit in between. With our insights and your actions, let's be unstoppable together. Let's go. Hi everyone, it's Tina Brinkley, and I am here with my co-host,
Vicky McDougall.
And this episode is all about triggers. If you are somebody who gets really upset or angry, this episode is definitely for you. Triggers are messengers that something gets to be transformed. Embrace those triggers. Vicky, have you ever not experienced a trigger in your life?
No, can't say I. Oh, yeah, I use that word a lot. Oh, this is triggering. Oh. Yeah, I'm triggered.
So a trigger is something, an emotional experience we have to something that somebody says or something that somebody does or a situation. And I had this situation that happened to me a few weeks ago. It was my daughter's graduation. And I remember I took her to get her hair done. I took her to get her makeup done. And I saw this woman who had her yard decorated. I mean, you know, those people that I say they're Martha Stewarts.
Yeah.
They're just, where do you find the time to do that? So this woman had a big giant photo of her son every year from kindergarten to grade 8 on the lawn.
Oh my God. Are you kidding?
So I'm walking by and I said to my daughter, oh gosh, man, she's really prepared. And my daughter said, yeah, Mom, you should have done something like that for me. Well, and I started feeling a little bit guilty, right? Because I paid for a trip and I thought that was her gift. Then I find out her friends are getting iPhones and they're getting laptops. And so here I am having mom's guilt. Well, I need to go buy her this keep up with Joneses, right? I need to go buy her this gift. So I drop her off at her friends. I'm rushing around. I go buy some yard decorations, right? So I'm like, I don't want to be those parents that does nothing. So I go get this lawn decorations. I go buy her a laptop thinking she needs one for school anyways. I'm rushing around. I go get balloons. Well, then she called me early to pick her up. So I have the balloons in the car. How do I hide them? I can't hide them. She gets in the car. The balloons are there. And I said, surprise, I got you balloons. And she looked at me and she said, really, Mom? You could have put more effort into my graduation. I am telling you, you guys, I could feel my throat close. I was like sweating immediately. I was angry. I was upset. I couldn't even control it. I was just ready to lose my mind. So my daughter noticed and she said, what's wrong? What's wrong, Mom? If looks could kill, I think I would have killed her with my daggers. I was so upset by what she said. So I dropped her off at her dad's. And she said, Mom, talk to me. No, I can't talk to you right now. I was so triggered. So I get home. I called her up and I just let loose. It's like, you spoiled, ungrateful. I got angry, right? Really angry. I said, I'm done. I'm like losing my mind, right? Have you guys ever had a parenting moment where you think parenting failed? Like, this is a complete failure. That was my moment. Yeah. I thought I'm failing at a parent right now because I'm just unloading.
Yeah.
So I realized I said one thing, right? You say hi to me in the morning. So I realized the thing is never the thing. There's a thing underneath it. I got angry. Why? Because I wasn't communicating. I had this feeling or this experience of my youngest daughter. She's like a cat. She comes out of her room to eat and hiss at me.
Right.
So I was hanging on to that. And so I think the reason why we wanted to talk about this today is because that was a messenger that something gets to be transformed. So for me, I had to actually come back into my body, because sometimes we have an out-of-body experience. I'm losing my mind. But I had to actually come back. And once I calmed down, I realized that it wasn't what she said. I felt like I was doing something wrong as a mother, that my daughter doesn't really want to talk to me or doesn't want to spend time with me. And when I say, good morning, honey, she grunts at me. I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And so I realized that this trigger was, my feeling of inferiority coming up. Wasn't what she did. What she did is what she did. What she said was what she said. But I was having a feeling that was coming from my own beliefs, my own perceptions. And in that moment, I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about what I wasn't actually communicating. And so I remember I said to my daughter, my upset is my upset. Because she started saying, I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible daughter.
Yeah.
I'll do better. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That is not true. You're not a terrible daughter. You're not upset. Or you're not X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Restaurant. Yeah. And I said, my upset is my upset. And I want you to know that my trigger is my trigger. You didn't cause my trigger. My beliefs, my feelings. And there's also something else about anger. Anger is a tool we use to get out of communicating.
Yes. You just get angry and walk away. I did that with my husband the other day. I was angry, so I just went in my room. What are you doing? Nothing. I don't want to talk to you. Why? Why can't I just communicate what was wrong? I couldn't because I was angry. So then I didn't have to. I didn't have to deal with it at that point. I got to just revert and have my alone time, which I probably just needed some alone time.
Right.
But instead I made him wrong.
Exactly. That's right.
And I was angry at him for something that was stupid. It wasn't even, I don't even know what it was now. So it was obviously stupid.
Yeah.
But that is how, it is how we deal with things a lot of the time. It's his fault or it's her fault. It was her fault that she said that to you.
Well, and think about this, right? Anger being a tool. If you can let this in, how many times have you been, I'm going to say, I'll use my kids again. My kids were arguing or something. Oh my gosh, you guys never clean your room. Why aren't you cleaning your room? How to tell, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And the phone rings and it's you. Hey, Vic, how are you?
Exactly.
What's going on?
Yeah. How you doing? How you doing?
Like that.
Absolutely.
Go from like 0 to hot in 1.1 seconds and then like hot to cold because it's a tool we use. And when we can see anger is a tool, we can actually be responsible for our own anger.
Absolutely. And, I think that we don't realize that we have a toolbox. We all have our own toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about superpowers before and how we can use these as superpowers because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's right.
Once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Right.
So if and that's what we have to keep in mind too, because when we do get angry, sometimes it's because we don't want to communicate, but then sometimes it's we communicate too much. We say things that we don't really mean in the heat of anger. Mm-hmm. And we just spew things that are actually things that could have happened 10 years ago because we didn't deal with it 10 years ago.
Right.
And it just compounds, just like you said. It wasn't about her saying that you could have been a better mom and putting a sign out in the yard to say happy graduation. It was because you felt something. She was triggered by something that she saw. You were triggered. It was your feelings. It had nothing to do with her.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, triggers are messengers that something gets to be transformed. Yeah. How many times do we feel inferior as parents, inferior as wives or husbands, or like we're doing something wrong or we're not enough?
Oh, we're never enough.
Business.
We're never enough. Someone's always doing more than us. Someone's always getting up a little earlier to get one extra thing done, or right? We compare ourselves to someone else or something else all the time.
Instead of, wow, that was really creative. See all those yards, and I think this is something we set up the scenario as human beings to be in competition with each other instead of comrades. Wow, Mom, way to go. You had time and effort to put into your child to make them feel good. That's obviously your love language.
That's right.
And
it's okay. That wasn't yours.
Exactly.
And it's okay, but you made it not okay because you didn't feel like you've done enough, because maybe you've been running around like a chicken with your head cut off for the last week, doing things that other people aren't doing.
Oh, and again, we had another podcast episode about what happened and the stories.
That's right.
And so we collapse them as if what's happening and the stories of what's happening are one,
Yeah.
and they're not. What happened is that woman had really amazing yard signs. And my daughter did what she said. I know, right? I don't know. Maybe she's watching right now.
So, or good for you.
Yeah. If you're a mom that does that, man, kudos.
Absolutely.
I tell
do it for me too.
I tell my kids all the time, like, listen, I'm just not like that. It's not my love language. I mean, I forgot your birthday last year. I called Vic the date after her birthday. Like, I think I had a date or something. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's another
story.
But it completely, like,
But you know what? Again, I could have been angry.
Mm-hmm. Were you a little bit?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't, because you know what? I learned, and I'm going to, again, share a story, but when I was in 2016, I found out I had cancer, and I could have been angry. I could have. And I could have had expectations of what I wanted everyone to do for me.
Mm.
Okay? Because I had found out I had to have surgery. Like, it happened like within minutes, almost, like right within a week. I was diagnosed. I had my surgery. Everything was happening very, very quickly. And I had people in my lives that stood up. My husband was phenomenal. My daughter was away at college, and I had a friend tell her that she needed to come home. Mm-hmm. And that was triggering for me. Mm-hmm. Because I get to say what I need from my children. I get to say what I need from people. We get to make that choice. And it was enough for her to do what she was doing. Go to school, do the best you can, even though you're worried about your mom. Mm-hmm. Just do what you get to do. And I realized that none of us are the same. I had friends bring me dinner. I had a friend that stayed with me for 6 weeks of that time to really help after my surgery. I had friends, that didn't come to the hospital because they just couldn't do hospital. That's okay. Mm-hmm. I had no expectations, and I wasn't angry at any of them for what they did or didn't do.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really tough thing for some people.
It is. Because don't get me wrong, I can get triggered on some asshole driving by me and cutting me off. That can trigger me. But because it's just the situation. But really, when you really put some effort into the reason why, everybody's lives don't stop because you're in crisis mode. Mm-hmm. Their lives still go on. You had a date. That's okay. It's okay. And not like you wouldn't make it up to me anyway. And you felt worse about it than I felt, right? But that's what I'm saying. So I could have gotten angry. Yeah. But when we really, like, the world around us is such a shitstorm right now with everything going on. And I'm watching the Olympics because the Olympics are on right now, speaking about this, and watching these people who have trained for 4 years minimum to go to the Olympics and do what they're going to do best. Mm-hmm. I watched this man yesterday. He was a Canadian. He was a runner, and it was a false start, and he was disqualified. So was he angry? He never walked off angry. I don't know how he felt afterwards. Like, I couldn't imagine what he was possibly feeling, but watching him just took it as it was. Like, because what would be the point of being angry?
Oh, man.
And he could have, like, we were like, oh yeah, watching it, I was like, oh my, right? And he's the Canadian, and you want him to win. And just like in the gymnastics, and people, and I heard someone say, isn't it terrible that we feel the need with social media to respond to the haters rather than the ones who show us love? Mm-hmm. Okay, so us getting angry and us getting triggered, why not look beyond the bad and look for those people in there that are looking at you and giving you the good for you? Because you're always going to have haters.
Well, and when you pay attention to your triggers, because you're probably going to notice patterns. You get triggered by the same thing. And if you can just notice what triggers you and just take a minute, you might feel angry. Remember, anger is a tool that you use maybe to avoid conversation or avoid conflict. But if you can pay attention to your triggers and ask yourself this question, what does this remind me of? Or what is this bringing up for me? Or what emotion is this stirring up for me? And be able to look back and say, what does Where's it coming from?
Yes.
What is it that I'm not communicating, or what is it that I'm not saying, or what am I not expressing? And if you have the courage to really look within, you're going to discover answers for yourself. Triggers aren't going to go away. You're always going to be triggered, but you can catch your triggers. And this is a practice.
It is.
It's a practice of, okay, there's a trigger, and seeing it as an opportunity, because in the trigger, then you can actually interrupt the pattern. But you can't point the finger out. I promise you, it looks like it's over there with them.
It always does.
It looks like it's the guy cutting you off.
It always does.
But that's not. Maybe it's you're in a hurry too, and you're
late, and right, because really, that person, you don't know what's going on in their lives, and that's the thing. We don't know what's going on anywhere else.
No. I remember one time I was going through the Starbucks drive-through, and this Starbucks drive-through had 2 lanes. So everybody was coming from this way, and there's a lineup. Well, this guy comes down this way and just cuts in front of everybody. I mean, there was probably 15 cars, and he just happened to cut right in front of me. My daughters were losing their minds. They're like, really? We've been here for a long time. And, say all this stuff. And so when he went up and he ordered, and when I went up, I paid for his order. And my daughters asked me, why would you do that? Why would you pay? And it was a $30 order.
Oh my. Well, yes, it's Starbucks.
It was a big order. And I paid for it. And my daughter said, why would you do that? I said, because I don't know what's going on in his life that he had to cut in front of 10 other cars. And I think he might have even flipped me off or gave me a dirty look or something. Like, it was like a case, right? But I said, maybe whatever is going on in his life, this might help him see or reframe the way he sees things. Or maybe he's feeling bad about cutting us off because he had to get someplace. And I just didn't want him to, not that I'm trying to control his feelings, but I wanted to say, listen, I got it.
Yeah.
You're in a hurry, whatever, peace, love. There's nothing wrong here.
And what do you think your daughters learned from that as well?
That their mom's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Other than that. But really, truly, because we can, and again, we've talked about this before, is how we show up, how people see us and how we show up in the world, right, is what they're going to take from that. So your daughters and because I probably wouldn't have handled the situation the same. I can probably guarantee I wouldn't have. I probably would have been flipping off and yelling and what, really? Like, blah, blah, blah. But when you just take that, you can reframe that for that, just instead of reacting, learn to respond with the trigger. Like you just said, it's coming up for a reason. So if it's coming up, ask yourself what the reason is before you flip them off or before you scream or whatever it is. You get to do that.
Well, and if we see people as comrades and not competition.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he cut me. I'm supposed to be first. I'm supposed to be before him. And oh man, that's just a human, living a human experience and made a choice.
Yeah.
There's nothing, what happened in the stories, there's no stories.
Maybe he didn't even see that the line was this way. Maybe he just came up this way and didn't realize. Who knows?
Oh, exactly. We that's the thing. We don't. He had a view and it was different than our view.
Yeah, that's right.
And figuratively. Yeah, right. It was different.
Yeah.
But this happens all the time. And it's like, where do we want to put, anger is a tool. So if we can see that we're using it to get something, but we can actually reframe it.
Yeah.
It is a superpower. And so, I'm curious what you guys, I would love for you to leave us a message or comment what you're hearing for yourself. Maybe you are somebody who is really angry. You go around being angry. And if you're willing to open your awareness to see that you are actually using it as a tool to get what you want, maybe it's to control, maybe it's to intimidate, maybe it's to get what you want, maybe it's to be right and make somebody else wrong. It's okay. It's all good. There's nothing wrong. No. It's just the key is to become aware of it. And if it works for you, clearly it does, because we're always winning the game that we're playing. But how does it impact our interpersonal relationships when we're walking around angry all the time? And are you willing to shift this to recognize your triggers are your triggers And if there is somebody in your life that, pisses you off all the time, are you willing to see it's not actually them? There's something that you haven't been communicating. But we want to hear from you. We want to learn what you're hearing in this. Not only that, what action are you willing to take because of listening to this? Are you willing to recognize your triggers?
Yeah.
Are you willing to see anger as a tool? Are you willing to be aware? Because I think this is the game that we all get to play.
Yeah.
Awareness is the lock and action is the key. Put them together and
magic happens.
Magic action. Anything else, Vicki?
No, hopefully you come back and see us again. We're always here. We're going to put out episodes every week. And we also are going to have some guest speakers on our episodes as well. So keep tuned. We'll keep you aware of what we're doing, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Well, friends, that is the end of our episode today. If you love this episode, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And please share us with your friends and tag us on your socials at The Art of Being Unstoppable. So for today, have yourself a beautiful day and let's be unstoppable together. See you next time.